it's easier to convert an existing customer than to go find a new one, right? If you can extend it out to a long period of time and use all the levers that I mentioned, right? The right nudges, the right offers, the right messaging, right channel, and all of this kind of works in tandem to improve, overall loyalty and the good feeling that a brand can build towards a customer.
How should a brand approach measuring the success of their retention efforts?
The core metric for retention is actually the cohort analysis. So you start with a cohort and you measure, and the easiest way to measure cohort is actually to do a time-based cohort or use retention cohort.
What type of industry keeps pushing you on the product engineering ki Anand, I want this feature, this feature, this feature?
Yeah, I think 2 or 3 of my favorite kinds of customers is because they push us. Number 1 is BFSI, retail, and then there is gaming.
Now, how do you see the careers evolving and people who are in this career? So what should they learn? What should they adopt?
So 1, don't fight technology. Number 2 is adapt to it. In fact, this is the exponential curve of technology, right? Increasingly, people will rediscover their own jobs.
And I had written very nasty emails to you and then we had a chat also.
We're not perfect as a company, and the only way to become better is to listen to your customers.
So if you could break down for our viewers, what is LTV mean and the maths around it?
The longer you hold on to the customer, the better your LTV is going to be. So it's a curve that you can continuously lift up to the right number. So a CDP is like in the movie Sholay. Thakur can see Gabbar. The Thakur can't actually shoot at Gabbar because the Thakur doesn't have any arms. And a CDP is like that. CDP knows which customer segments are most likely to transact. What have you seen in the world? How do people pick retention platforms? Any mistakes that they make?
So one big mistake which I see is people think that their retention marketing is poor because they have a bad tool. But if you are in the top 3-4 tools, it's more of an implementation problem, what I see.
If you look at the landscape of channels, you have WhatsApp is like a great channel, right? Push notifications are free. Email is a great channel. I would still, every decade, email has survived.
So Anand, do you remember how did we connect?
I mean, seems like ages ago.
Yeah. So I'll tell you, so we are recording this podcast in the week when Indians women's cricket team won the ICC championship and there was a cricket relationship. But I am a person who does not watch cricket at all. So I am a very movie person, okay? And my friends used to call me ATM, like anytime movie, isko kabhi bhi le jao theater mein jaake movie dikha do. And during COVID, I was starving for watching a movie in theater. And the first movie which came out in theater was 83. And I still remember, it was 25th of December, around 3 to 6 p.m. का show. I went to watch that movie. But movie में क्या हुआ, मेरे team में somebody called me कि सौरभ हमारा ना campaign जाना था, वो गया नहीं. And I realized कि क्यों नहीं गया. So there was some problem that the campaign was not scaling up because it was a campaign which had to go to almost like 10 million plus people. So it was not scaling up, and we realized that there was some issue in our platform, and I couldn't enjoy that movie. But I have seen that movie almost 10-12 times. And then over the next 2-3 days, we worked very closely with your team to recover it. And I had written very nasty emails to you, and then we had a chat also. But what I loved about that interaction and later is whenever we gave feedback, you guys came up with very strong implementations, and every time I met, you started with Saurabh, chalo main tumhe dikhata hu hum kya kar rahe hain, and this is what 3 things you said, and we have knocked off 2 things. So there is this famous saying which says, when going gets tough, that tough gets going. So I really admire that part about you, and sorry for that long nasty thing which happened when we started.
No, actually you were well within your, I would say, rights, to send us that nasty email. This is a mantra that we live by, right? We are not perfect as a company. We are not perfect as a product, but every day you become better, right? And the only way to become better is to listen to your customers. So you're not the only one that is sending nasty emails to me. A lot of our customers do that. And every time they do that, it gives us an opportunity to reflect on how can we write, how can we build something to their expectation. Now, whether it's a new capability, whether it's improving existing capability, scaling the platform, 10 million users in those days was a big deal, right? Today we have customers who have upwards of 500-600 million users. Wow. And those campaigns got very smoothly, right? So that learning helped us in scaling the platform.
Yeah. So Anand, when I was researching about this podcast, I came to know a lot about your background, okay? And we will not go and touch about those things, but you started Burrp, okay, and I think so you started in 2006, if I'm right.
Correct.
And you almost exited around 2009. And 2007 or 8, Zomato started. And Zomato is one of your biggest customers or
Correct.
the top customers.
Yep.
So, how do you see Zomato today? And do you think it was a timing thing? And like, what are your emotions when you think and see Zomato and this food industry shaping up?
Yeah, so thank you for taking me back to the good old days of Indian, earliest ecosystem, entrepreneurial ecosystem, right? So I came back from the US in 2006, and literally I felt this need to create a restaurant discovery and a review platform, right? There were young Indians, like, their earnings were kind of going up. They wanted to eat out and explore the world. But there was no place where, you could go find all the places listed and the specialty and all that. So obviously, as an entrepreneur, like, that was the idea. I'd seen platforms like Yelp in the US perform very well, and I used to use them. So I started that, like, in 2006. Unfortunately, the VC ecosystem was not as mature as you see it today, right?
Yes.
I mean, a lot of companies even IPOing, right? So all the seeds that the VCs and entrepreneurs had sown 10 years ago are now kind of coming to fruition. But go back to 2006, right, which is almost 19, 20 years ago, right? Very early VC ecosystem, not too many entrepreneurs in India. It was very hard for me to scale this up, right? Anyway, we slogged it, like, 3 years, we became super popular as a platform, but you needed you needed money to grow the platform, right? Because there were no mapping solutions in India, there was no database, so we had to go collect our own, every single point of data, all the menus, photographs, everything we had to source ourselves, right? And this whole concept was alien. And any business that's different city by city, right? Like the restaurant or the neighborhoods in Mumbai is very different than Delhi and so on and so forth, right? It requires a lot of money. We couldn't raise anything. So 2009 is when we joined hands with Network 18. They had a local business called Infomedia 18, which was Yellow Pages, and they wanted to modernize Yellow Pages and bring the same level of social proof through reviews and recommendations into the platform. And that's how we kind of, ended up there. And when I joined them, and when I kind of took over the rest of the Network 18 web properties, I noticed that the customer data, was siloed across multiple products. You had web analytics, you had a little bit of mobile analytics, separate product. There's product A/B testing, again done by a different vendor. There were SMS solutions, email solutions. And if you think about this, your customer journey is kind of broken up into multiple components and parts. Nothing that put it all together. And of course, the engineer brain went into an overclock, and I was wondering, why is there not something that puts it all in one place? But not just for analysis, for actionability, right? If you notice that a customer is struggling on your homepage, you could actually pop something up and offer help, right? If you notice that someone has left something, that they care about, they want to buy, but they got distracted with something, you could send a friendly message saying that, hey, we have 3 of these in the inventory, and if you don't buy it, it's going to go away. And I think that was a good epiphany moment for us, to say that, and we went looking, actually, we went trying to find a product that does all of this, but like I said, most of them were solving a very niche problem, the email vendors were solving only email and so on and so forth. So we had 3 of us, so Sunil, Suresh and me, and we used to work together, and we started brainstorming one day, hey, why not build something? And we took it to Network 18, and they were not interested in this. Obviously, they're a media company, right? Analytics and technology is not their forte. We felt very, very strongly about this. And in 2013, after spending 4 years in Infomedia 18 and Network 18, we actually said that, this idea needs to be brought to life. Let's quit our jobs. Let's take the plunge and build something, right? So that was the starting point of CleverTap. And then for the next 3 years, we were busy inventing this technology called Tesseract DB, right? Which can store all customer data in one place and instantly activate it for whether it's insights on analytics, whether it's recommendations, predictions, personalization, and so on and so forth, right? So it does all of this in one platform. That's CleverTap.
Okay, amazing. And that time, I used to so my career around the 2004 time was executing campaigns for Amex. So, and that too mostly direct mail and email was the most digital channel we used to do. And the biggest challenge in that time was executing campaigns and getting the data. So you started with solving the data problem, and then the channels will integrate around it.
Correct.
Okay.
I mean, that's the core philosophy, right? It has to be about data, customer data, and then you can do multiple things with it.
Yeah. So, Anand, this is almost the 5th or 6th episode by the time it goes air, and we had amazing speakers who talk about how to drive efficient growth, okay, without spending less money in marketing. And you know, one common thing which has come out everywhere is focus on SEO and focus on retention marketing, which are the strong pillars of the growth marketing thing. And I look at CleverTap as a user and this ecosystem as a very strong thing which is enabling it. So, in your view, why is everyone crazy about this whole retention marketing to be cracked properly? So, if you could share some thoughts around it.
Yeah, you have to go back a bit in time to understand what was going on, right? So, as consumer brands kind of came out, their focus was on acquiring, like they were doing a land grab, like, you know, go spend dollars, like, you know, they were flush with funds, go spend as much as you can and acquire users, right? And I think very soon it hit upon them that, you know, we are acquiring the same user again and again. Like, you know, every time we acquire a user, they go out of the back door and come back again. And we just can't seem to retain them, right? And that's where platforms like CleverTap kind of came in, right? That retention marketing is actually a core component of growth marketing. Retention, not for the sake of retention. You're not trying to be desperate to hold on to something. You're retaining as a show of loyalty, as a show of trust, as a show of winning a customer over and over again, right? So you spend once to acquire them, and then you hold on to that relationship and you build trust and loyalty over a period of time, right? And hence retention marketing from the sidelines became the central focus for a lot of companies, right? In fact, for all the companies today. And also, like, you know, the cost of customer acquisition is going up. There are multiple regulations around ads and, you know, third-party data and first-party data and all those things. And retention is just like the smarter way to do things. Like, you know, you have a customer, right? You acquired once, and then how do you focus on giving them a super personalized, a very holistic experience across all touch points and across the life cycle, so that you have a better payback period from them. Like better, sorry, not payback period, but better payback from them, right? Over a period of time, right? And that's the crux of retention marketing.
Yeah, and in fact, I think so, if I may add one point, is the data play of knowing the customer has also increased. So if you remember earlier in the offline retail, if you go and shop in say Big Bazaar or say Spencer's, they will not know whether Anand has bought or Saurabh has bought. So the only way they started doing is by launching a loyalty program.
Correct.
Okay, and that too with card, you have to carry it all the nuances.
Correct.
But when mobile came in, mobile ID became the identity. And when digital came in, I think so the first thing you capture is the number, and then knowing 100% of your customers became a big thing.
Yeah.
So I guess this whole knowing the customer has increased the amount of data, and then getting and communicating directly to him is where this whole retention marketing stacks help reach out, rather than come through the Meta and Googles of the world and then spend billions and billions of dollars around
Yeah, I mean,
it.
think about this, right? Talking to your own customer is practically free.
Yeah.
Right? Whether you're sending them a notification, whether you send them an email, it's cost compared to showing an ad and hoping that someone clicks on that ad and shows up and you have acquired a user. And sometimes you don't even know whether it's the same user that you acquired, like, you know, that you already had in the database. I mean, we spoke about this a few weeks ago when you were giving me an example when you had visited our office last time. That, hey, you know what, we have so many people in our database, like, you know, that we've acquired over a period of time, and we hardly focus on them.
Yeah.
We always, you know, we try to get new people into the door, like, you know, but then you brought about this practice of making sure that you're focusing on everyone that had ever signed up, right?
Yes. So one of the pieces, you know, what I feel is about data, people only think about customers. Okay. So, and what I've seen is in this whole digital first brands, you have 5 times more leads who have not bought but signed up but never purchased. So if you focus on those as well, the marketing efficiency really kicks in very
Anyone that has ever shown an interest in your product, right? Now, that means that someone took the effort to show up on your website or download your app, browse around, and not everything leads to a purchase. Like in the real world also, we may walk into a mall, we may go visit a few shops, which means that we have shown interest, right? We walk inside, we check out the products, we try them on. Maybe it's not the right color, maybe it's not the right price, and then we mentally take a note that we'll come back later. And that's exactly what it is, right?
Yeah.
So the leads, which are non-customers, if you just go back to them, right? At the right time, right channel, right level of personalization, all these good things like right product recommendation, the chances of them coming back, since they already know your brand, the familiarity of the brand, the familiarity of, like the messaging, trusted partner, all of this leads to an improved conversion, right? Rather than trying to go find newer audiences for your product.
Yeah. And what I have observed is the whole way people approach marketing is also changing now. You mentioned CAC, okay, customer acquisition cost, and I'll take an example from a personal life. When Uber launched in India and my elder son was born around the same time, and my in-laws were there, my parents were there, so Delhi mein we had to go from home to hospital, and it was like 6-7 kilometers. So I utilized all free rides from different phone numbers, Airtel partnership, ISKA partnership, credit cards, and I got almost 10-12 rides, and each ride would be costing 250 rupees. So 2500-3000 rupees ka value maine extract kiya, and I was super happy, and I kept telling other people also. And what I realized later is I might have spent almost 2 lakh rupees on Uber, and Uber spent 3000 rupees in acquiring me, not by running TV ads, but by giving me that experience. So this 2-3 lakh rupees is not yet done, okay, it will keep on going, and I think so that is the lifetime value which is unlocking. And when I went to your website, it says helping brands unlock limitless LTV. So if you could break down for our viewers, what does LTV mean and the maths around it and everything around LTV?
I think before we go to LTV, this is an important point, right? Exposing your potential customer to the experience, right? Now, in this case, taking a cab, used to be a not so daily experience, it's like a little odd experience, because in the good old days, you had to walk to the taxi stand and get someone to come over to your place, and then you could take a ride, right?
Yes.
Or maybe go to an auto rickshaw like we do in Mumbai, just flag down an auto and then you do that. Habit forming products, right? So getting a cab through a phone, and the cab shows up, building that positive experience a few times until you get used to it, right? And the same experience goes for things like ordering food, maybe having someone come and do the repairs at your home, whether it's an AC cleaning or deep cleaning or whatever it is, right? So these kind of things, right, is the cost of customer acquisition, right? Not just the ads. And then from there on, how do you make sure that you are retaining the customer, right? So now we'll talk about limitless lifetime value. So most of the times brands think that lifetime value is like a static number. It's like it's a target that we have to achieve, right? But I humbly submit that actually LTV comprises of 4 components, right? Number 1 is average order value, right? Number 2 is the frequency of purchase. How many times is your customer transacting with you, right? In a given period, maybe it could be a weekly, depends on the kind of product. If you're a food ordering app, for example, then maybe you can measure it on a weekly basis. If you're a travel app, possibly you can do a monthly or a bi-monthly kind of approach, right? Then the gross margin that you have on that particular transaction, and finally the tenure of the customer or the customer life, right? The longer you hold on to the customer, the better your LTV is going to be. So it's a curve that you can continuously lift up to the right number, right? And we've seen brands that do phenomenal job, they have customers for upwards of 10 years, right? Very happy, loyal customers. So it is something that is not like a static number. That's number 1, right? Number 2, all of these are levers, right? Things like now gross margin is for the the product teams or for the service and operations teams to figure out, right? But all the things that you have in your control, right, as a growth marketing team and the product team, are things like frequency of purchase, things like the customer lifetime, right? And how do you get a customer to come back, right? What are the various things that you are going to show to a customer, whether it's the right product, whether it's the right nudge, whether it's a right offer, for example, right? So some people like to see an offer or they will not transact. We've seen this with Indian e-commerce or Indian retail. that they throw offers at you, like they say, hey, we have put 100 rupees in your wallet and you can use it against the next transaction. Or sometimes you have a buy one, get one, and so on and so forth. That's some very creative schemes, right? For a person to come back and transact. And what we have seen is it's easier to convert an existing customer than to go find a new one, like I was saying, right? And hence the customer lifetime value, right? So if you can extend it out to a long period of time, right? And use all the levers that I mentioned, right? The right nudges, the right offers, the right messaging, right channel, and all of this kind of works in tandem to improve, overall loyalty and the good feeling that a brand like can build towards a customer.
Yeah. I'll just take one example, when I was working at Lenskart, so I used to think, yeah, chashma log kitne baar kharidenge, okay? That was the thinking of frequency of purchases, once in 2 years. But slowly I realized that the way the founders build a category at the end. They said, okay, there is a specs for your morning, there is a specs for your office, there is a specs for your evening. Then there are power sunglasses. Like people who have number, they hardly are able to wear, say, Ray-Bans and all.
Correct.
So power sunglasses. And then, okay, if you want to use powered contact lens, so you are increasing the number of products the same person consumes, and it increases the consumption of it. Another example is, what I feel is there is a difference between the customer and the consumer a little bit, because in India what happens is there is one person in the household who's buying stuff. Okay, so mostly it's maybe the male, 70-80%, but he's representing the house. Like in my case, my mother, my father, my son, my wife, everyone is shopping from my ID. Okay, if I look at the database, उसमें Saurabh का phone number आएगा, which is like a 45-year-old male. But if I look at behavior, it might start coming in different things. But
correct.
So the LTV also then starts showing up with the household spending coming through the person who's registered into a database. And the way I guess ROI is also changing is LTV divided by CAC is where I think so most of the PEs and all look at and monitor कि आपका LTV CAC ratio is improving or not over a period of time. So yeah, so LTV.
See, one of the best ways to measure lifetime value is to cohort users, right? Now sometimes you can cohort them by the month or the time period when you acquired them, right? You can also cohort users based on the source or medium you acquired them. So there might be affiliate campaigns, there might be ads that you're running on, say, Instagram. Or there might be a messaging, right, that you did around the World Cup, for example, right, like the Asia Cup that just happened, and maybe you're running an ad then, and you can cohort these, like, and what is a cohort? Cohort is nothing but like a group of people, and you measure their behavior over a period of time, right? It started in the medical field, but you can use cohorting as a way to figure out, like, users that we acquired during Asia Cup, how did they fare over a period of time, right? How many of them continue to transact with us over a period of time? And again, sensibly you can adapt it to your brand, right? If you're a food delivery app, possibly you can measure this on a weekly basis, right?
Yeah. So Anand, I'll just pause you here. One of the biggest mistake marketers use is this word cohort. Okay, which cohort are you targeting this week? And they mean segments actually.
Yes.
Male cohort ko target kar do, female cohort ko target kar do, and this is a gross mistake. It irritates me to the fullest. To me, cohort is a type of segment, but cohort is not really. It's a longitudinal study, as you said.
Yes.
And I guess the best example of cohort to understand is the Gen Z, Gen Y, Gen X.
Correct.
Because they were born at a certain period of time with all the same events. Now the behavior has been observed over a thing.
Correct.
Now, as you said, people who were acquired with this offer, that offer, people who were acquired in 2012, 2013, 2014, and you track and then you keep monitoring and changing their behavior by the right interventions.
Correct.
So cohort is an amazing study, but little bit abused by just the lingo.
I couldn't agree more, man. I've seen this, our customers writing back to us saying that, hey, we're trying to target this cohort. And then obviously the customer success teams, they go in and look at the cohort and they're like, we don't understand what you're talking about. And then invariably realize that they're talking about a segment of users. And that segment, that definition can change, because you can add hey, all males from this particular pin code or zip code and who have done this transaction in the past, right? For orders for more than 500 rupees or whatever, right? That can be that's a lot more dynamic. In the true sense of that cohort, that group doesn't change over a period of time. It is it's your boomer, for example, if you're a Gen Z, you're part of that group, you can't change yourself, So most of the cohorts, which we call as, there are two dimensions to that, right? One is the acquisition criteria, right? How did you acquire them? And that could just be like, hey, we acquired all these in the month of January in the year 2025, right? And since we are looking at a month, it's best to track this over a period of monthly at a minimum, or you can do this annually as well, right? You can say, okay, for the people who acquired in this particular month, where the messaging was this and this is what we promised them, etc. How did we track them over a period of time, right?
Yeah.
And keep that group constant. Don't change the definition. And most of the cohorts are, in fact, all the cohorts are mutually exclusive.
Yes.
So people in January 2025 will be different than people in February 2025, right? So this would be the net new users that you acquire, not representing of people who came back, because that would be represented as a longitudinal thing, like, where you say, okay, if they came back in February, they're represented as a row and not as a column.
Exactly. And I'll just take an example, like if you see Perplexity, okay, they are partnering with Airtel, they are launching student offers and all.
Correct.
With 1 year free pro subscription.
Right.
Now the cohort will hit next year. Okay, they have to start interventions into this. And one of the biggest indicator that the person will not renew is if he has not formed the habit of using it.
Correct.
अगर वो 2-3 महीने use किया and then he's like dormant, वो renewal नहीं करेगा.
Correct.
So getting the product to be used is where the retention marketing comes in, so that when the renewal hits, you do the appropriate partnership campaign again with maybe Airtel or whatever, and then get them to renew.
I was talking to a unicorn founder. They're now listed, like, extremely large company, very popular consumer brand. And the founder told me that they have literally two functions, like, in the growth team, like, one is to get dormant users to just come back to the app. That's it, like, by hook or crook, whatever offer, whatever campaign, whatever messaging you want to do, just get them back into the app. And the second group of people, right, the second function is actually to get them to do something. Right? So that usage of your product is very important. Even if your consumer, your user does not come back and transact every time, right? Just getting them to come back into the app and get them to browse your catalog, like, of products, look at what's new, is a good enough thing. Like, that itself is one of the reasons you should track not just customer cohorts, but also, like, cohorts of users who keep coming back and view products.
Yeah.
Right? And track when they convert.
Yeah, and what are they browsing and what they're doing. So it's a big customer journey study which keeps happening.
And which means that analytics forms a very important component of retention marketing. It is not just like, hey, let's throw out some offers and let's hope for the best. You have to base it on customer data and all the behavior that you're seeing on that customer data. Very, very important.
Yeah. So great. This helps us understand cohorts, and we'll go a little bit deep later again. But see, over the years, I have seen it almost 10-15 years now. Started with Unica, then we built our own platform. Then I started using platforms like yours and other tools. And I've seen it evolving at a very great pace. पहले running a campaign used to be say 6-7 days affair. कि पहले data लाओ, फिर campaign लाओ, फिर email के set करो, फिर उसको join करो, run करो, opt-outs हटाओ. Too cumbersome, okay? But when we use tools in this area, it takes like 2-3 hours. If your content creative is set and you are clear with what segment you want to go for, within few minutes you can execute it. But I want to understand from you is what is under the hood of a modern retention marketing or a CRM platform. If you could decode that.
Yeah, absolutely. I get this a lot. So there are multiple components, right? Let us say the foundation has to be super solid. It has to be a data foundation. We call this CDP, right? So on the foundation of, or the bedrock of customer data platform, you have analytics, you have messaging, and not just messaging as one-time messaging, but the whole message orchestration engine, right? Something that knows that I can, send the nudges across multiple channels, right?
Email,
this could be
SMS,
WhatsApp,
PM.
email, SMS, texting, and so on and so forth, right? But this is on the basis of the data that you have, right? So that is by the orchestration, right? How much to wait, what is the frequency of messaging, and so on and so forth, right? What content goes with what. Then you have offers and loyalty, right? Very, very important. Like, what kind of offers? Is it a buy one, get one? Is it a flat discount? Is it a discount on certain products? Do you cross a certain price threshold? So analytics, then you have, all the message orchestration, you have loyalty, and finally you have personalization, right? Again, very important, because you can send messages all day long, like, and no one responds to it. You should know, like, that, hey, no one really cares about what I'm sending them, right? And this has to complete back as a loop, right? So you are responding back to how customers are treating your messaging, whatever you're sending to them. Even if you're doing an on-screen personalization, like, through, say, product experiences or product A/B testing, you have to know whether someone actually went down that flow or not, right? And all of this is peppered with AI all over, right?
Okay.
And AI, obviously, as
So AI is that dhania, you have to sprinkle it in everything.
it's actually, yes, but it's not just a cosmetic thing. Actually, it actually is very meaningful with the evolution of LLMs and all. Like, it
So
becomes,
we'll go deep into AI. But tell me, you mentioned CDP, and is CDP a glorified database or what it is? Because you mentioned it's the bedrock, but just if you could double click on CDP.
Yeah, so CDP traditionally was all your customer data in one platform, right? And it is a database, you're right. So, you store all user behaviors. Now, in the earliest of the days where data storage and processing was super expensive, you would only store customer data, right? So everyone that actually transacted or signed up with you as a customer is where you would store. These days, since, data storage and processing and activation is still not cheap, but storage is cheap, like, you can actually store all data. So even if that visitor that we spoke about a few minutes ago shows up on your website and starts browsing around, you will store all this information into the database, right? And that's why it goes beyond just CDP, like, it goes as a good solid data platform. And on the basis of that, then you can activate this data, right? Most of the CDPs don't help you with the activation. They are a storage platform, right? And then there is, this is a continuously evolving field. Now you have composable CDPs, there are reverse ETL platforms, there are all sorts of things going on here.
But what type of data does go into a CDP? Like traditionally we used to see that there is name, phone number, what person has bought. So that used to be, but that's how much data. But what are the things which go beyond it?
Yeah, so every behavior, for example, if you trace a user's journey, so what ad campaign got them into the platform, right?
Okay.
So if you are showing an ad, like, saying that, hey, we have the best collection of denims, right? Or we have Japanese denim, like, which is considered a very high, end product, and you got that person to come in and browse your denim collection, that ad copy would be saved, right? Because you can later utilize it for messaging.
So basically all customer journey events are saved.
Everything is saved with extremely high fidelity information on all the properties, right? Like I have a customer that actually stores, they're a travel app, and they store, like, how many days before the travel date is a person browsing for certain things. Like, so even things like, is the customer looking for a swimming pool? If you're 2 days away from your vacation, I don't think so that's the criteria. If you're like 2 months away from your vacation, I'm sure you're looking at the size of the pool, is it heated or not, those kind of things, right?
So basically what I'm hearing is there's a lot of intent data which is getting stored before the action is taken.
Correct. And that's why it goes beyond just the definition of CDP, right? Traditional CDPs were only customer information, right? Hey, my customer, this is the transaction, like you said, like, few things, what brand did they buy, and so on and so forth, right? Now there are products or CDPs, like, which actually, like CleverTap, for example, we ship with an embedded CDP, like, it's part, we don't sell it separately. The Tesseract DB I'm talking about is core, and it's part of the platform, right? That stores everything that you want to store about the customer. There is no limit to that. You can store up to 2,000 properties if you wanted to store, like with every event. So there are 2,000 ways you can describe everything, like, so if you were a retailer and you'd say, okay, someone looked at a t-shirt, you can actually record, like, what was the brand, what was the sub-brand, what was the color, when was it added to the SKU, what was the material, what was the size, and everything else that you may have about that product.
So this name Tesseract, has it something to do with the movie Avengers?
So, as you may have guessed, the engineering team here is like all Marvel geeks, and Marvel, yeah, exactly, right? And when the first 3 years, like, when we were busy building the core technology, we had to name it. And one of the engineers, like, he came up with a name called, let's call it Tesseract. And we said, well, Tesseract might be an Avengers or a Marvel kind of trademark, but, it's a database. So let's call it Tesseract DB.
Because whenever you are saying Tesseract, mujhe blue wala jo that.
Actually, we have that. Like, if you log into the CleverTap dashboard, and if you go to analytics,
that blue.
You have a little blue Tesseract like visualization. when it actually computing
Does
the
Loki
answers
come
for
free
you.
with it?
Huh?
Loki come free with it? Great, great. But tell me one thing, there are a lot of people think about ki, shall I buy a CDP, shall I build a CDP, or shall I take a platform which comes with CDP? So how do you see that coming? Because CDP seems to be at the core of everything.
Yeah, see, first of all, I've been a technologist for 30 years, right? As a technologist, as a builder of technology, I say unless what you're building is core to what you're actually selling, right? Do not try to build it, right? Number one, the technology is evolving at a rapid pace. This would become a side project in your company. And as we all know, side projects don't get the focus or the resources or the budgets, like, to actively invest in that. So what starts off as like, something like, a great initiative, let's build it in-house, etc., will soon fizzle away, right? There are companies, whether you buy it from us or someone else, doesn't really matter. But there are companies that are dedicated to solving this problem. We think about this 24/7. Our revenue comes from this, like, so we are fully focused on this, right? This is what we build and think about. So one is to build versus buy, I would always say, and we work with some of the largest companies that are out there, right? And unless you're one of the FANG companies, like, I would not suggest that you go and build it, right? So you buy it from someone. You of course do your evaluation, your criteria and all that, right? Number one. Number two, should I buy a CDP separately, right? Like I was giving you an analogy before we started recording here, like, so a CDP is like, I was telling, like, in the movie Sholay, there is Thakur, right? And while the Thakur can see Gabbar, the Thakur can't actually shoot at Gabbar because the Thakur doesn't have any arms. And a CDP is like that, like, CDP knows which customer segments are most likely to transact, because they may have a prediction module in them, but they don't have the ability to reach out to their customer base, and then require a marketing automation solution. And, like until a few years ago, these were all sold separately. Like you would have to buy a message orchestration engine.
Yeah.
You would have to buy something that does the prediction and data sciences for you. There'd be some other product that does product A/B testing. It is products like CleverTap, like platforms like CleverTap that put it all together. So you have one platform that does everything end to end. So you don't have to tear your hair away, like trying to stitch everything together. And what happens typically is that the content gets transferred, like, so data flows, but the context does not. Each of the products that I described, like, their customer definitions of what is an active user, or even the amount of data that you can flow, like, like for example, if you had a CDP that had the ability to store 500 different customer properties, may not get sent to your, say, prediction engine, and they may not be able to leverage all of that.
Yeah, and I think so the distance also matters. Like you said, it's the body of Thakur, and then hands and feet have to be together. Otherwise, it's very like you can say orchestration is poor, so it's not music, it's noise.
A lot of companies where in the early days of CleverTap, when I used to go and pitch actively, like, would tell me that it would take them days to do something, right? Something as simple as an RFM, like, like I went to a retailer, a traditional retailer, and they said like it would take them like a few weeks to compute RFM. Of course, in CleverTap, you press a button, you can see the RFM, but that's not where it ends, like, so after that these are my champion users, like, they are extremely high frequency, high recency, and they spend a lot with me. The next step in that would be like, hey, can I run a loyalty program with them? Can I send them an offer? Can I do a, each person gets one? We spoke about this, like, can you run that program on them right there in the dashboard?
Yeah.
So you don't have to export this, then import them into some other database, and then you lose context of why was this segment of users, not cohort, this segment of users chosen, to do what?
So you touched upon personalization, and honestly, I think so. This may be extreme opinion that personalization is little abused, because one big mistake people do, they create lot of segments and then send the same campaign on offer to everyone. So kya personalize? They're not even using different offers and treatment. It's just segmentation to monitor. And the best example of personalization, people might say कि मैंने नाम डाल दिया, hey Saurabh, चाय पीनी है. So what is your view on personalization? How is it evolving also? And some examples to really throw light on it.
I think there are a couple of things here, right? There's a lot to unpack in the topic of personalization, right? One is that truly deep personalization, right, is called individualization, right? Where as an individual, you do not even feel that something is personalized to you. It feels natural. So when last night I was messaging you, like, you did not feel that Anand sent a personalized message to Saurabh, right? You just saw the message and you instantly kind of, you read it and it registered in, like, that, okay, we have to meet at like, 9 o'clock today for the shooting. So that is true personalization, right? You don't feel like, hey, this brand has sent me this message with this product and I need to register. It feels like air, like, you don't feel it, right? So it's all around you. Number one. Number two, brands are not able to do this because of not availability, like, because the data is siloed. Like we spoke about this, the CDP holds, like, the customer data and properties. The messaging engine does not have access to all of that. The third thing, like, which might be a recommendation engine, may see parts of some of this. So it's best if you are able to leverage all your customer data, including actions that did not take, right? I looked at this product, I did not buy it. Now, it could be that I'm, looking at the product, I'm looking at a product, it's there in your catalog, but this may not be the right price I buy it at. It may not be, the right season for this product, right? Depending upon, like, what maybe you're looking at clothes, like, winter jacket, like, but it's summer. If you really search for it, it might show up in the results, right? But, you might be looking at it and saying, okay, well, I saw it, I don't want to buy it, right? I might buy it later, like, in a few months when winter kicks in, right? So I think that personalization goes beyond just the messaging, which is the hi Saurabh, or beyond your first name, right? True personalization actually has a bunch of things. So I will explain them in the order, like in a certain order, right? One is matching the right person to the right product.
Okay.
Right? That is one of the steps. Second step would be, what is the messaging and what is the copy and the creative around that particular product? Like, what are we actually sending to this person that works for them, right? Like we spoke about this, like, you might have bought this t-shirt because it's a great brand and you like this brand. You might buy it because it's the right product and price. You might buy it because you really needed this color and you did not have this color in your wardrobe, and so on and so forth, right? So there could be different reasons, right? So are you sending that right copy to that person? Are you sending it at the right price point, right? On the preferred channel, on the right day of the week, at the right time, and with the right number of frequencies, right? If you get all of this right, that is called personalization to the person who actually has an intention to buy. So if you match the person to the product and if there's no intention to buy it, they'll, every time someone messages someone, right, which they don't have an intention to consume, it's spam.
Yeah.
Right?
So a few mistakes, which I've seen sometimes on personalization people do is, I get a pop-up to say, okay, try this t-shirt. When I go there, it does not have my size.
Exactly.
Okay, so size is such a small thing. I've bought 10 times, say, the large size, 40 wala, and it keeps that intent so that next time recommending me a product has to take care of those elements. So again, personalization has a big data problem which has to be solved.
That's exactly why that CDP has to be part of the whole stack. It can't be separate product, like, it can't be something
so the
that
context will come through
because
that.
Exactly this reason, right? The context does not travel. The content might, right?
Yeah.
And the other thing is that customer data, most of the products have this limitation of look back periods, right? You cannot go beyond, like, 3 months of look back period. So if you bought something like a t-shirt, now we don't go and buy it every week.
Yeah.
You buy it, maybe 3 months, maybe a couple of months, whatever, right? Like 6 months. Or winter jackets every winter, like, not every other month, right? Most of the brands forget that. They don't forget that because they want to forget that. They forget that because their product that they're using, right, for the messaging or for recommendations cannot look back that long. So it has a short-term memory problem.
Yeah.
So you use a product that can offer you like a long look back period so that you can leverage all the customer information, all the signals and clues that they've left, first party information on your product to help you understand them better.
So I think so what I am taking back from this point is brands need to focus on the customer events which they keep doing and create context to create interesting personalized campaigns.
Yes. Think of this as a living cartograph where you constantly update direct signals. This person looked at the color blue for the last 5 t-shirts were in the shades of blue and gray, for example, right? Then obviously don't suggest something purple or pink. You might, but that might be option number 7, right? Not first option, right? All the things that have explicitly done or implicitly done, what they've rejected, for example, if you've shown 3 options and they selected one, that means the 2 were not so great. So inferences from that, all of this needs to be saved and stored and later utilized for personalization.
Amazing. Great.
Like Saurabh, like a shopkeeper does this instinctively. If you walk into a shop, physical shop today, and you're buying like clothes, like, and if you say like, hey, I work for a company or I am a, executive in a company and, this is the thing. And they will instantly show you things that are, like that are office wear, for example.
Yeah, and the guy will...
They'll not show you something that with a big logo here, like, that is on the chest.
People will carry context even if you come to the next time. And
yes, it happens in the real world, right? A lot of technology was supposed to mimic that and make it even super powerful, right? A lot of technology now has evolved to kind of ignore the real world and do its own thing.
So I'll tell you one example which I had run in my previous organization was a personalized campaign, but not on the context, but onto the coupon code. So what we had done is, generally you see that ugly coupon codes of 10 digits. So what we did is we changed it to the phone number.
Wow.
Okay, and we just, the first digit, like my phone number starts with 9, so 9 ko hata diya tha, and it was like a second digit to end. And that campaign, and we did 2 tests. We did 50% with the personalized, 50% without, and the 50% with personalization had 30% more ROI or more conversion rate in it.
See, that's a great example, right? That's a small change, but it gave you a big result.
And the person thinks about, we realized that people remember the coupon code. Nobody
because
remembers
it's their phone number, right?
What do you remember if it is something personal? So small elements in content, copy, event, all these things, if it works well, it gets into getting a great campaign ROI.
Correct. And where we started with like the retention platform, right? I think that feedback loop is very important, right?
Yes.
So most of the times what I have seen when I go pitch to prospects and when I go talk to other companies, right, is that feedback loop is missing, like, because when someone takes the recommendation or clicks on an email or whatever it is, like, that goes to some other product, like, that generally goes to an analytics product, like, having that part of the core platform actually runs like a feedback loop. And the tighter the feedback loop, the more organized your system is, like, because now you know exactly that the inference that I spoke about, that the user took this option or did not, actually feeds into the algorithm to make it better.
Yeah.
Right? What have you seen in the world? Like, how do people pick retention platforms? Any mistakes that they make?
So one big mistake which I see is, it's like, one of my friend, he keeps buying new pens. And he has a bad handwriting, and he says कि यार Saurabh ये वाले पेन से ना handwriting better हो जाएगी, and handwriting better नहीं होती, you keep spending more money, okay, and that's what happens. So what I see is people think that their retention marketing is poor because they have a bad tool, but if you are in the top 3-4 tools, it's more of an implementation problem, what I see, rather than a tool problem.
Correct.
The second issue which I generally see is, it's like a car, okay? In car you have a dashboard, but only 2 KPIs we see. We see speed and we see mileage. How much is the fuel remaining? Tachometer होता है, इतने सारे graphs होते हैं, battery वगैरह होता है. Nobody takes care about it.
Correct.
So retention marketing is a very feature-rich thing, and product engineering teams spend a lot of time, and we hardly utilize it. And if you start utilizing these cool features, you can pull up your ROI. So to me, I take कि handwriting तो खुद ही improve करनी पड़ेगी to max out your retention marketing ROI, platform ROI.
Correct.
But how do you see people should choose a retention marketing platform, Anand? Like, how should you go about deciding? If say a new brand, or not a new brand, let me say small brands will not be able to afford it, they can go with a small tool. But how should they approach deciding a retention marketing platform?
So I think since we spoke about early stage, like whether, I think there are many affordable products out there, even for the early stage. But getting into this habit of data-driven decisions, looking at your data, while driving a car, the rest of the stuff doesn't really matter, like, because you'll get this feedback when you're driving, like, actually running a retention or a growth marketing function will actually require you to look at all this information, yes. Right? Of the new users that we acquired, how much time are they spending on my product, like, before they bounce away. Of the people that are returning users, like, what other products are they looking at, what is the coverage of my catalog, what are the various things, like, so you can go deep into this rabbit hole, right? The cohort behavior that we spoke about, so you can measure this over a period of 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, and so on and so forth, right? The campaign conversion, the money that we offered, and the coupons and all those kind of things, right? So we can go deep into this, right? whether you are a small company or a large company, right, you have to make the right choice. You have to figure out what is the right product that works for me, right? So that's number one. And the right, in my definition, is where a platform has an extremely strong data foundation, right? We spoke about this, right? Most of the customers, out there, rather most of the brands out there are not able to achieve this perfect nirvana of personalization because of a very weak data layer, right? I mean, even if the data layer is good, sometimes they don't send all the customer information, all the visitor information into the same database. They might hold on to some in their own CRMs or their own data lakes and all that, right? So having all customer information in one place is a must have, it's a non-negotiable, right? So that's that. Then comes the second step of activating this customer information.
Yes.
Right? How do you activate it? So ability to slice and dice this information, not where you run something and you come back like 3 hours later saying that, hey, I've got this segment, making it run at the speed of light, making it interactive, real time. We've seen what happens when say a Google search, a few years ago, now ChatGPT, when you give, it gives you instant answers. It does not say, well, I have, trillions of data points to explore, so give me like half an hour, right? It instantly gives you an answer. And when something comes back to you instantly, you want to explore it more because you may want to try new things in there, right? So the ability to do a click and drill is very important, right?
Yeah.
So extremely strong analytic tools, whether it's a funnel, cohorts, ability to visualize your power users, figuring out cohorts for different definitions of cohorts, comparing different groups of people, so for example, food delivery app might have different behaviors, not only by the city level, but also by different pin codes, right? People in different neighborhoods may have a different, preferences for the kind of food that they eat, right?
Yeah.
So ability to deep dive on analytics. Then comes the messaging bit, ability to do experimentation, right? In all sorts of messaging that you send, whether it's a message A/B testing, multivariate testing, ability to fully use all the channels that are available to you, starting with the most cost efficient, which is push notifications. I'm sure we receive.
So Anand, so there are so many messaging channels getting evolved for the CRM platforms. Can you just throw a light? Where do you see this going, and how is it shaping up?
Yeah, there's a problem of plenty right now, right? But I'll tell you, the world originally started with SMS and email, right? And those were like reliable channels because that was a way where you could, I'm talking about the late 80s and early 90s, where it was a reliable way to get the message across. The world, people were used to receiving catalogs by email and then flipping through every last thing.
Direct mail.
Direct mail, yes. Like Sears and Roebuck's, in the US, and there are several others, Land's End, we used to send a catalog and you would thumb through the whole thing, every single product. Exactly, right? And then, the world, I think, then we became time deficient, we wanted to, look at not the entirety of the catalog, but things that were relevant to us, right? And alongside, the world went from direct mailers, physical mailers, to electronic mails, which is email, to channels like notifications, for example, as the mobile phones came out, smartphones, messages notifications that can carry a lot more concise information, right? You could add an image of the product and add a link to directly buy it, check out. So there were all these channels, right? But today, if you look at the landscape of channels, you have, channel that's WhatsApp, is very popular. It's very expensive right now, but WhatsApp is a great channel, right? Obviously, most of the Indians, South Americans, South Asians, kind of wake up and we look at WhatsApp. So it has become a preferred channel. Push notifications are free. Email is a great channel. I would still, every decade for the last 3 decades, I've been thinking this is the last decade of email, and somehow email has survived the nuclear blast. It continues to live and evolve.
Yeah.
The most recent being AMP templates, we can actually see live things.
And email has the best ROI because the cost is so low and it is asynchronous because WhatsApp is in your face.
I love the asynchronous part, so I'm a huge fan of asynchronous channels where you let the other person consume it in their own time and space. You don't push something it's not urgent, it's not right now.
And it can be personalized and it is like full web page.
Exactly, right? And with AMP, you can actually do a lot more within the email itself. Like, you can respond to a survey, you can check out a catalog. In fact, I have seen POCs where you can build the whole shopping experience within email. I would not recommend you do that, but it's possible if you wanted to go down that path, right? The newest channel that we have seen is RCS, which is kind of the heir apparent to SMS, which is a rich protocol coming from Google, and then now adopted widely across the world.
RCS is interesting, RCS skipped the user adoption, directly went to brand adoption.
Exactly.
Like if
Correct.
you see WhatsApp came through the brand, through the user adoption, and then it's going into brand and marketing adoption.
I mean, I used to work in the US, right? So in that era, like there was a channel called MMS,
Yes.
right?
India had got
Multimedia messages, yes. It was scandalous site, but it was meant to show audio video, like, SMS could not carry that payload. I think RCS is almost like that, like, as MMS, people were not kind of using it for themselves, like, most of the brands were using MMS.
it got the branding wrong with all the scandals which happened. Otherwise, it's the same thing in new bottle.
Correct. So all these channels that I described. Now, of course, you can extend this further to retargeting channels. There are channels like Line. There is TikTok. Maybe not TikTok may not be applicable to India, but like the other markets that kind of leverage TikTok heavily. There are retargeting campaigns you can run on Google and Meta properties, right? But I think the most exciting channel for me is not these offline channels. It happens what you can leverage on the app itself or on your website.
On-site channels.
On-site channels, right? So now we're talking about ability to add a widget to your existing screen, right? Let's say product recommendations, it gets added as a widget, like, So now it does not feel that this is a separate communication from the brand. It is part of the page,
Got it.
right? Or the ability to change messaging based on who the person is.
So it's like an on-site personalization.
It is on-site personalization. That is the term for that, like,
Okay.
But that is an extremely powerful. Of course, you can do interstitials, you can do pop-ups, you can do exit intent, you can do web push notifications. But making that work seamlessly, like, as a part of the experience, is what I would hang. That's something that I actually endorse.
So it's great, understanding how the channels are evolving. And coming back to what we were discussing about how do people select platforms, okay? And your Thakur example is still stuck up in my mind. Ki CDP is the heart and the body of it, and then there are hands. And I was working with one of the clients which is into home furnishing, and they have one of those US companies CRM platform, and they don't have a CDP and they don't have the analytics because they are two separate modules. And they have the messaging channels and some bit of basic KPIs, but it is very hard to use. But it is one of the top ones on the Gartner quadrant, take the more right corner, it's out there. I will not name it, but I think so everyone is smart to understand. So, do you also unbundle these and sell it, or how does it happen like in today's world?
See, unbundling is easy because I can go sell analytics if you're only looking for that thing to buy, and if you're a highly segmented company where every department buys their own product of choice, so the analytics team will buy analytics, and the messaging marketing team will buy marketing, customer acquisition team will buy some sort of retargeting tool and all that, right? The problem will be transferred to you. Now you have to sit and stitch everything together and bring all the context, right? One of the core reasons of starting CleverTap was to make sure you don't have to buy this product separately. It all fits in together. The large, like the ones that you mentioned, like in the top right of the magic quadrant, I think they became such large companies through company acquisitions, right? If you look at, and without naming any of these, if you look at their product stack, if you say, hey, each product is a company that they acquired.
Yes.
Right? And they acquired them and they made minimal effort in stitching it all together. So they don't integrate very well. And I have run into some of our customers who became our customers because it took them to integrate, it took them 12 months to integrate the other product, and they gave up on that. And they said, no, we want an integrated, end-to-end solution that just works. Right? So you send in customer information just once, and you can leverage it for everything, from analytics to personalization to messaging to AI to recommendations, predictions, it goes on and on, right? But I just need to send the data once. Versus sending some data here in one place where it is analytics, and then sending the some part of this data to some other platform which does predictions.
So it means that first you have to send it for the messaging, then you have to send it for analytics, then you have to
Yeah,
send it for
even if you're doing it from the back end, like why get into all this mental gymnastics? When you can have one platform that does this end to end. See, your customer does not care. Say, for example, a lot of the brands that we purchase from, right? We would be very happy walking into their store, having the same experience, your previous employer, Lenskart is a great example. You walk into the Lenskart store, it feels as if you're on their website, the same selection, same brands, transparent pricing, all of those good things, right? You go to the website, same experience. You go to the app, same experience. Gives you in fact a better experience. Now you can try on the glasses in 3D and all that, right? In the physical store, of course, you can try them on, right? So they've tried to create a consistent experience across different form factors. As a consumer, as a user, customer, you don't really care, right? It should feel seamless. Then why should the products, behind the scenes, treat them separately? Oh, this is the web analytics. These are the people that showed up on the website. No, it's the same customer.
Yeah.
You better recognize that this person came to the website because they could not use your app or vice versa. Or they walked into the store and they forgot one thing and they're not trying to order it through your app.
So when we talked about how to select the platform, so what I'm hearing is the CDP, the CR, the analytics, the messaging platform, the personalization should be core part of the module. It should not be like you should say ye niche, then what you have taken. You have taken the Thakur.
Exactly, including offers and loyalty, has to be part of the same platform.
Yeah.
Right?
It might look the price is low, but you're killing the main features which might give you that incremental level.
You just transfer the headache to someone else, So any team that selects a part of the product and says we are only going to use this, right? And by the way, with a caveat, so here is a caveat, let's say you're a large organization and you already have different products and you select a new platform, right? You don't have to rip and replace everything on day one.
Yeah.
You can bring that product in and then over a period of time you can figure out what's the right mix and match, right?
Yeah.
So it's not hey, I'm going to take out 15 products, and because you don't want to disrupt the business. The first primary goal is not to disrupt your business.
Yeah.
Let it run the way you're running it, not just from a technology perspective, also from a people perspective. See, the hardest to change is not technology, it's the people, the mindset.
Yeah.
We spoke about this, that people are fixed, how they run it. And sometimes the depth of usage is restricted not by the data and technology, but by how people want to use it. They want to upload CSVs and then they want to run a campaign. Instead of trying to actually say, I don't want to upload a CSV that I actually got from the data science team 3 weeks ago or 3 days ago or 30 minutes ago. I want to do this in real time because my customer is not static. My customer is moving, evolving every single minute.
Yeah. So what I feel, is, and this is a mistake I have also done, when you're taking these cloud platforms, we want to save the space because they are priced on the events and buckets and all, and you provide lesser information which leads to poor personalization and leads to poor ROI.
Correct.
To me, when you're doing it, you go with the doctors, that you're going to a doctor ko sab batana padega so that he is able to help you with the best treatment.
Correct.
If you hold back information, unless it's too sensitive, but if you hold back just for the sake of holding it back, it will not give you the best impact which we are desiring.
That's a great analogy, and I would recommend that the brands don't hold back information because you're shooting yourself in the own foot. You're not giving your customer a really good and consistent experience, so that you increase LTV, which is how we kind of spoke about retention and LTV. They go hand in hand, right? And to get to that, you need to be able to serve your users. For that, you need to be able to understand all the behavior, implied, explicit, everything, inferenced, all in the same place.
So you mentioned LTV. I want to just double click on this area of analytics of how should a brand approach measuring the success of their retention efforts. If you can think through some KPIs or what are some analysis should do. Definitely we talked about cohorts is a very central part. What are the other elements to look at?
Yeah, so retention is not just one metric, right?
Yes.
The core metric for retention measurement, the basics, starting point is actually the cohort analysis, right? So you start with a cohort and you measure and the easiest way to measure cohort is actually to do a time-based cohort, right? Or use retention cohorts, which say that people that we acquired, X number of months ago or 3 years ago, whatever, of them, how many came back. Couple ways to 3 ways to 2 or 3 ways to measure it. How many of them just came back it's a good sign. Like, that means they still have the brand recognition, they still are aware of your product and capabilities, and then they come and check it out, right? For subscription apps, like if you go away from retail for a second, say you bought a subscription to a certain streaming platform, and you have a 12-month subscription. Measuring this is very important, not just how many of them renewed, because you will not renew if you do not come back.
Yes.
So are you sending the whatever the latest catalog is, the genres that interest that person in the language, etc. Right? The new episode drops, all of those things. But for retailers, just measuring how many people came back, they may convert, they may not convert, it's fine. Is one track. The second track is conversions, of course. When tracking it, depending upon the frequency of purchase and the kind of product you're selling over a period of time, right? So maybe 3 months, 6 months, 12 months is a good measure versus trying to do it very, very short term, right? So have a slightly broad-based view.
Yeah.
And the earliest, one thing that we preach to our customers is called the retention smile curve, right?
Yeah.
So there is a high, like that same cohort of customers that you acquired, initially their usage will be very high.
Yes.
Right, because they're exploring every last thing. They're going to the product. They're trying to. You're new in this store, right? So you're looking everywhere, right? And then there is a dip in the usage.
Yes.
Right, because people who really want to buy will be the ones exploring. Others will drop off and say, okay, well, over the weekend I'll check it out, or I don't want it this month. Next month, festive season, I'll buy it then, right? And then that group engages again, right? So this is the classic smile curve of a retention cohort, right? So smile curves is what says that these people, you have got a sticky product, people come back, right? So that is one thing, right? The second thing is the conversion, right? The campaigns that you're running, there are two dimensions of that. One is how many people actually take up the offer that you're sending them,
Okay.
right? And this could be like a coupon that you sent. It could be, like
Any redemption rates.
any redemption, any conversion, any creative thing that you do there. Buy one get one. Could be anything really, right? Coins in the wallet, which can be redeemed later. Those kind of things, right? But basic conversions. How many people actually convert? How many people unsubscribe? It's a negative way to measure that, but sometimes too much communication leads to unsubscriptions. But I think the underlying point is that all of this is multiple data analysis, right? And even when someone came back into your app,
Yes.
how did they flow through the thing? Where did they go next?
Okay.
Right? So say you ran a campaign and people came back, and then for those people, where did they go through your app? What was their journey look like? So mapping that customer journey, and there'll be infinite variations, but figuring out that you require a deep dive on analysis just to understand that better. So that would, to me, that would be a few things. And of course, there are funnel reports that you can look at, your trend lines, you can do comparison. So now let's talk about campaign analytics, right? So you sent a campaign, right? How many obviously got delivered? How many were opened? That's all the easy part, right? But looking at what did people do once they clicked on a link that you had sent, if you had sent a link for checkout, deep link, your push notification into the checkout flow, how did people actually went and checked out? But not only checked out, did they actually transact and complete the transaction, right? So success and failure of that. Did they buy the product that you had recommended, or they bought something else?
Okay.
Right? It matters, right? And this will again come back in analytics, when you're looking at, is this the product that they were looking at? Is that the product that they end up buying, or they bought something else? Right? So tracking that flow end to end. Now sometimes the unhappy measurements are also did people unsubscribe because you're sending them too much communication? Because that's a great opportunity for you to calibrate your own recommendations, who should we send the message to, and so on and so forth, right? So all of these metrics kind of come together and help you kind of form a view on retention marketing.
Yeah. So if I may summarize, Anand, so the first one is, I would say L1 is campaign measurement.
Correct.
Which is whether you're sending an email, SMS, WhatsApp, what is your delivery rates, what's your click-through rates, and then finally conversion. Then is your retention funnels, how understanding the customer journey, how people are moving over a period of time. And third is your retention really adding to retention? Okay,
Correct.
I'm looking at your 30-day retention, 90-day retention, 1-year retention. One aspect which I would say, which I used to do a lot is retention adding value by doing a holdout. I think so. CleverTap has this thing that you put a universal holdout. So what we used to do is we used to put a 10% holdout on the entire base and refresh it every 3 months to say क्या होगा जब कुछ campaign नहीं भेजेंगे.
Correct.
And what's the incremental lift you are
Yes.
getting as a whole.
Yes.
And that used to be the ultimate measurement to say कि the repeat rate of people send measurement is say 10%, say 90-day repeat rate, and without this is 5%. So that extra 5% was the impact of the
Great point. Yes,
campaigns.
absolutely. Yes.
So देखो मतलब users know more about the
100%. We learn from the users.
yeah. And that was like a hidden feature, you know, setting में जाके universal holdout बना दो. But another piece which I realized is ना 90 days में वो holdout को reset करना भी important है.
Very important because you have to rotate through the audience, right? See, one of the other things that we built over a period of time is now campaign level holdouts.
Yes.
So for a campaign,
yeah.
right? So we call this system control group, and then there is a campaign control
level
group, right? Campaign level control group. So you can do a holdout 5-10% for that very campaign, and then look at the efficacy
Yes, so
of that.
holdouts is a very interesting way to keep testing. Is
Correct.
your communication working? Definitely A/B testing, multivariates are key. Moving on from analytics, you know, Anand, one key question I have for you is, what type of industry keeps pushing you on the product engineering ki Anand, I want this feature, this feature, this feature. So if you could share some thoughts on which industry and what type of things have you been pushed lately?
Yeah, I think 2 or 3 of my favorite kinds of customers is because they push us a lot to innovate. Number one is BFSI. I mean, no particular sequence, but BFSI segment. There is retail, right? And then there is gaming.
Okay.
Okay.
So let's start with BFSI.
BFSI, like, you know, BFSI is an heavily regulated industry as such.
So one question first, is BFSI in fintech same or different?
BFSI actually covers the larger set, like, you know, so a lot of the banks, like for example, traditional banks, they don't, or insurance companies, they don't like to be called fintech, right? Fintech implies tech.
Enabled bank.
Enabled a lot of the
finance,
things, right? Yeah. In the traditional, like, there is a lot of technology. You can argue, like, you know, this is one of the arguments, like, you know, is FedEx a technology company, like, you know, because they obviously use a lot of technology, but they're not Intel or they're not Nvidia, right? So it's a similar thing, like, you know, so the traditional banks, right, and insurance companies, etc., would be, or lenders, those would cover under BFSI.
And which direction do they push you?
See, they are regulated, number one, right? There is a lot of do's and don'ts. There is a lot of, you know, things that they can say, they cannot say, how they operate. They're not the fastest moving, right? It's not like the first to market, first mover advantage or any of that, like, you know, they play very, very safe, right? And within the bounds of how they like to operate is they ask us to innovate around that, right? So some of our BFSI, and BFSI covers fintech, like, you know, so I'm using this as a broader term, right? Some of our customers ask us, like, you know, that, hey, we have so many business units on CleverTap. Can you do a governance and control for each of these units?
Okay.
Right? Can you save a copy of every single message that goes out so we can audit it later? Not the templates.
Okay, the final message. Which
every single message that goes out.
with
right?
the variable.
Now, yes, all the variables filled in, like, you know, so every message that, so if you send, I don't know, like 10 million user campaign every day, like, you know, that all of those 10 million messages have to be saved for audit later on, right? So audit logs, very important, including user actions, like, you know, which of their users did what, the visibility of data to them. So again, this would all be around regulations and governance. They push us into that, right?
Okay.
How can you personalize with the limited amount of information that we will send your way?
Okay.
Right? Because they may not send us, like, you know, customer account balances and those kind of things, right? So how can you still innovate with those bounds and constraints? And each of these actually differs by country,
Okay.
right? So regulations in, say, Southern America, in Colombia, might be very different than India. Now it's all regulated.
So does localization also play a role?
Localization plays a big role. Some of the regulations, for example, originate in certain countries. The one that I'm talking about, where you take a copy of the every message, like, you know, save it for audit later on, is a Colombian banking regulation. But it found resonance in some of the customers in Southeast Asia and India.
Okay.
But they say it's a great idea, we should actually save it. So that feature got built by, you know, customers in a certain region, but then it got adopted by others.
So let's move to the next industry.
Retail. Retail is amazing because retail, you have the opportunity to innovate on the catalog.
Yes.
right? So a retailer, like say Lenscard, for example, or if you take off any of the other retailers, like selling clothes or any
Even quick commerce.
quick commerce, like again their catalog is a little different because their catalog depends on the neighborhood.
Yes.
So every neighborhood, they have
Every dark store and all.
every
will have
dark
a-
store, like which they obviously they are not exposing which dark store you are assigned to, right, as a customer. But I'm sure you are assigned to one or two as a fallback dark store in that neighborhood. But the catalog of that, like so if everyone kind of wakes up and say orders modaks because it's Ganesh Chaturthi that day, then modaks in that neighborhood will get sold out, and then they will have to do a fallback, right? While a retailer, like a traditional retailer selling clothes or shoes, may not have the same problem because finally they might have a few warehouses or one warehouse from which they ship everything. But ability to innovate on that, like hey, for my catalog, like the sizes, for example, you mentioned, the colors, the other capabilities of the product, like can I use this shoe to jog? How much of this shoe is actually a jogging shoe, right? So walking shoes can be used for walking long distances, or it can just be used for walking about, right? Can I use the same shoe to run? Can I use a running shoe to walk? So ability to have this kind of finer nuances in your catalog and to surface these options to the user to make sure that they are making an informed decision are the areas where you innovate, especially in retailers.
In retailers, okay.
Right? And then of course price points, like discovery, like what is the right price point, what is the right offer.
Tell me one thing. Does in quick commerce or in e-commerce, is the price by location also changes for the product?
Yes, it does. Yes,
there's
because the
dynamic
dynamics.
pricing.
Yes, because the dynamics of that changes. Like
Okay.
think of this as retail, right? I think the price of products, of retail products, like also changes by the neighborhood, or maybe by city level. Like maybe they're not
And
as
by
dynamic.
the person also it can change.
Possibly, although it depends, like on how they're classifying their users.
So
and
as
all
a
that.
feature, it is available. It's to the choice whether they use it.
You can actually experiment. I would call this as experiments, like not necessarily. For example, if you are both ordering a cab, we might see different prices. So we both start here from CleverTap's office and go to the airport. We might see different prices.
So it might be the feature of the core e-commerce engine which will flow through the
Exactly. Yes, the decision of what price to show is theirs. The capability to show different prices, different product capabilities. You might care about the ride of the comfort of the car. I may not care about the brand of the car. I just want to go from office to the airport. So different things might be shown to different users depending upon what gets them to convert more.
Okay. Now let's move to the most interesting category, gaming.
Gaming.
And I don't know, like I know real money gaming is a hot topic, but you operate across, and we have our audience, 30% audience comes outside India. So want to hear your view, because gaming is a very intensive category and it requires a lot of attention.
Yes, gaming is a habit forming category, number one.
Yes.
People play, and there are casual games, there are hyper casual games, there are triple A games, strategy games. So gaming is like a whole universe in itself, right?
Yes.
I think gaming companies do a lot of what we call as live ops,
Okay.
right?
What do you mean by live ops?
Live ops is, depending upon your situation in the game, you might be offered something that is just applicable to you.
Okay.
Right? So you are in the, like level number 57 of a game, and you are about to run out of lives, and you don't want to start all the way from the beginning. They might offer you a lifeline, and which for purchase for like $1, and you might say, okay, let me just buy that, so that I can continue to play along the game. Or they might lower the level of the game if you're struggling to cross a certain level, right? Because all of this goes into psychology of habit forming, right? Including variable rewards, what offer to show when to which user, and these things. So gaming is, I think, one of the most intensive operations, right? Because there is a lot of dynamic there.
And it must be having a lot of data per user.
Tremendous amount of data per user, and literally a lot of the gaming companies have run their own economy. Okay. Because if they offer everything to everyone, it is exactly like the government's printing money, then you soon have the case of inflation, hyperinflation, right? So they have to control the inventory, and that's all done we don't offer that as CleverTap, but they use those engines. Okay. And they integrate into CleverTap to offer that to the customers.
So I'll tell you one interesting observation. So wherever I visit, I go to the metro and try observe what people are doing. So if I go to either Delhi, Bangalore or Bombay metro, people are watching reels or watching video. Okay, and few days like last year and this year also I visited Southeast Asia, Singapore, Thailand, Malaysia. There people play games. Okay, going into the metro.
Yes.
And lately I have become habited to Candy Crush, but not on my phone. So me, my son, and my wife collaborate on her phone and play and cross levels, and we have like 1500 plus. So my data does not show that I'm an habitual, but it's on her phone. So yeah, gaming can be very intimidating, and you have to come back after some time. So it's a great.
It's habit forming, like, these are habit loops, like, so there is the core loop of gaming. And then how do you get people who've fallen off, like, what is it that you show to get them back into the game?
And I wish those principles are applied and we use better apps like which are doing better at health and meditation and all. Same concepts.
A lot of the core loops of gaming, like habit formation, etc., like, daily reminder, are also coming back into the other apps like meditation apps. And other things like math quizzes, for example, like for the kids or even for yourself. Like,
language learning apps.
Language learning. There are a lot of core elements of that, like coming into the broader.
Like the atomic habits piece.
Correct.
Which comes out. Okay. So Anand, no discussion can end without having a discussion on AI. Okay. So want to know in this whole ecosystem of LLMs and Gen AI. Between the MarTech and AdTech space, I think so MarTech has seen a huge spurt of apps and startups coming in and building different small things. And with every release comes in, many of these die, and then again 100,000 people come in, and then they die, and then they come in. So how do you see this whole retention marketing and growth marketing with AI impacted? And what are you working on in this area?
Yeah, so I'll cover this very broadly, right? And then we can go down to the specifics. I think if you look at the bucket of AI, like, it falls, like there are three buckets in the broader umbrella of AI, right? Number one is the traditional AI, which is machine learning, regression analysis, things like predictions, recommendation engine, all of that. You're not generating anything new. You're just using a lot of data to predict
which will sit on the CDP and do it.
Which can sit on the CDP and which can actually leverage all this data. And you can have third-party data, you can have weather patterns, you can have all sorts of things like, if there's an event in the city, if you're let's say a taxi company and you want to figure out, should I offer surge pricing right now or not? You may want to find out all the events going on in the city, right? And then depending upon that, you may adjust your rates and all that, right? Is it raining outside? Traditional data science. The second part of this, or second bucket would be, I call this the generative stuff, right?
Yes.
Where you generate a copy, where you generate
on the content side.
All the content, like, so we are both wearing glasses, like, if you were to sell this pair of glasses to someone, maybe you can show someone of similar age or younger wearing these glasses, right? How does this fit, to someone who's, I don't know, like this tone of the skin or whatever it is, right? Or this color of the t-shirt along, like, so you can match, all of this is generative. So in the past, it used to actually cost you time and effort because you would have to get a model in and you would have to have costume change and all that. Now you can do this with Gen AI, right? So you're not changing the core product, right? But you're changing everything around the product, right?
Yes.
So that is the generative part. You can also use emotions, and you can use the power of persuasion in the copy of the message, right? So depending upon what the person wants, you can change all of that, right? And the last piece is, all of this is tied together through the agentic
framework
and continuous decisioning, right? So we call this the decisioning engine and the agentic universe, right? Where there are multiple agents that do these things, right? For example, a strategy agent would actually work with you, would actually converse with you on your business goals, right? So for example, you had to get rid of certain inventory, or you had to go increase the view rates for certain episode that you've launched, right? Or a new product that you're offering. Strategy agent might chat with you and help you figure out what are the right audiences that you should target.
Yes.
Right? Then comes in the decision agent, which actually says that, I can help you improve this. Strategy agent, thank you very much. I'll take it from here. I will work with the creative agent, the copy agent, and the action agent to actually execute a campaign.
Okay.
And all of this, runs now. Each of these would actually end up creating multiple copies, multiple creatives matching the right person to the right creative and right copy, matching the right, all of this with the right flow. Should I send you a message on WhatsApp? Like, maybe I don't like respond very well on WhatsApp, as you may have discovered, like,
Yes.
but I'm an email person.
Channel, huh.
I'm an email person, right? Because I can organize my inbox. In WhatsApp, even if I click on a message, I can't it goes back into the stack and all that, right? So I prefer email as a communication, or I prefer call. Someone can call me, right? But some people, like, they're WhatsApp obsessed, like, they wake up and they'll go through their inbox and all that, right? They try to get a zero WhatsApp inbox. So depending upon that's the channel preference, right? And then how many times do you remind someone? What's the right offer for them? So all of this agentic thing comes in. All of this in CleverTap is bucketed under the Clever AI umbrella, right? So as a part of Clever AI, we started, in fact, we started about 3 years ago, right? See, with the power of Tesseract DB, we have always had the ability to offer the traditional data science things. For example, predictions, recommendations. Then there are some implementations, for example, the multi-arm bandit through implementations called IntelliNode, which lets you experiment, like for messaging, which is the right variant and all that. Then we introduced some Gen AI components into the Clever AI strategy. Things like ability to change the tonality of a message depending upon the emotion, or go look at the brand guidelines. Like, for example, as a brand, you might have certain guidelines, words you can use, words you cannot use, and so on and so forth, right? So depending upon all of that, and the best performing copies and creatives is how you can actually now use and create a new campaign altogether. For example, you might, in certain brands we've seen, have a inverse correlation with the word free.
Acha.
Yes, you use the word free, the conversions drop.
Okay.
Right? Now, because the trust may not be there, right? And in certain brands, like, which are regulated, for example, we spoke about BFSI, banks, they cannot use the word guaranteed or guaranteed returns on anything, right? So having the ability to kind of do the regulatory guardrails, brand guardrails, and the budget guardrails, right, is very important aspect of this offering.
Okay.
Correct?
So what I understand is, if I have to summarize, we are trying to build agents for, like, a co-pilot for every person who's in the process of marketing. So one, you said segmentation, to do better intelligent segmentation. The second is the content copywriter, using the content intelligence from the past and what has worked, you kind of match it. And third is for the execution and running multiple experiments.
And all of this comes back as a tight feedback loop, like what we spoke at the beginning of the recording was, making sure that this is a tight feedback loop. If you have disparate systems, there is no tight feedback loop, right? It's distributed. Because that's how systems learn. That's how humans learn, right? By feedback loops.
So Anand, tell me one thing. Are we there yet, or it's yet to arrive?
Actually, we are quite close, to be honest, right? Now, it is humans, right? We have to win their trust. So the third piece of this puzzle would be the trust ladder. Like, that means we humans will start with low trust, saying that we don't know, like, hey, I don't want to, because messaging is one way. Like, if you go send something to someone, you can't retract it back, right? So, hey,
So you're saying it's an adoption problem right now?
Yeah, it's not a problem, I would say. I think it's a ladder. Like, people have to climb that ladder. It starts with, hey, keep everything ready. I will inspect, and then I will hit send, or keep everything ready, or don't keep everything ready. Like, I will create. Like, thanks for the suggestion. This is what I need to do. I will do it. I think all the way to the highest trust is, like, this is my business goal. Solve it for me. Okay. Keeping all the budget, brand, and regulation guidelines, right? And you would come back and check in on. So this is your team that operates, and you have to come and constantly come and check back on what are the results and calibrate the strategy according to what you're seeing.
So I was hearing the Chief Digital Officer of Mahindra Group in one of the events, and what he said is, it's no more an AI or a tech problem. It is more of a adoption problem or a domain problem we are sitting. The systems have been built. We have to start using it and start showing the impact. And a lot of unlearning will also happen. We might not want to do it certain way because we can just speed it up quickly.
And people don't like, it's a classical technology adoption curve. Like, there will be early adopters, and then the others, like laggards, will want to see what's going on there, and then they'll try to adopt it. A lot of the projects will fail. Like McKinsey reported 95% of all Gen AI projects fail. I don't think so. It is the Gen AI which is the problem. I think it is the implementation.
People who are setting the expectation and running it.
Exactly, right? Hey, why is it like, creating someone with 5 or 6, 7 fingers? Like, like why can't it? Well, yeah, that's called trial and error. And as the Gen AI technology improves, as the agentic stuff improves, right? As we expose more data to it, as we expose our own internal systems through MCPs and feature stores and other things, like, I think it will all improve and get better.
Yeah.
So what always, like, this is the classic technology thing, like, it starts out as a toy, and then a few early adopters adopt it, and then it becomes mainstream, and then all the laggards start catching up.
Yeah.
So each of these stages creates a opportunity for many in the ecosystem to come and offer their products and solutions.
So here it comes to my mind is, what will happen to careers? Okay, when I started about 10-15 years ago in the retention marketing, it used to take 20-30 people to run a small company, like a decent sized company's retention or CRM campaigns. And now you can do it with 2 or 3 people max. You even still need 2 people because एक बंदा छुट्टी पे जाएगा तो दूसरा तो संभाल ले.
Correct.
So that's like a team of 2 who can run almost 30-40 sets of campaign in a month.
Right.
Now, how do you see the careers evolving? And a lot of our listeners are people who are in this career. So what should they learn? What should they adopt? And how are you seeing that change happening?
I think number one is that technology is a friend, not a foe. So don't try to fight technology. I've been around technology for about 30 years. And it started with me assembling computers, writing early pieces of code. Now people vibe code their projects into existence, right? So I've kind of seen it all, like, writing from assembly code, right? All the way to now writing a 4th generation language or just describing what you want and it kind of produces something, right? So one, don't fight technology. Number 2 is adapt to it. Your role will change. In fact, this is the exponential curve of technology, right? Increasingly, people will rediscover their own jobs, right? Or what is expected of me. In the past, the 2 or 3 people that you mentioned would actually sit and create the campaign. What if you could actually create, I don't know, like 50,000 variations of a campaign, right? With the right different copy, different message, different timing, different offer, each adapted to that particular person that you're trying to send it to, right? It is not humanly possible to do that in one day, to sit and create 50,000 of these things, like no matter how advanced the product that you're using is, right? But technology can do that. It will not get bored. So if it does all this, can you become the orchestrator of all this, right?
Yes.
So I think that humans will evolve, like, hey, I can get a lot more done with technology, and can I use technology effectively?
Yeah. So
right?
what I'm hearing is, the talent density within the person will increase. He might be the one who can do the campaign execution, copywriting, segmentation, analytics, all by himself. Only thing he needs to be aware of the basic concepts.
Correct.
And what I feel is, if you're the early adopters, you get more opportunities, because initially when the computers came in, वो job description में होता ना, knowledge of Word, PowerPoint, Excel is must. Then धीरे धीरे awareness of AI analytics will come in. Now it might be that, okay, ability to run all of this together.
Correct.
So to be multi-skilled will be good, and I think so early adopters always get that extra edge.
They always do.
Before the IT industry really creates thousands.
Yeah, but then there will be newer opportunities. I think it's like, the ability for, I mean, this surprises me positively, and I'm long technology, right? So I think the ability for a human to do a lot more, right? It's a great time to be alive.
Yeah.
To see all these changes happening in the real time in your life, right? As a consumer, you will appreciate it. As a creator, we appreciate it. And as someone who's running someone's dashboard or using retention marketing or leveraging that, like, all the technologies will love it.
Yeah. And in fact, if you look at the growth marketer role, which is the one which is coming up very strongly, it not only requires a marketing mindset, it requires a technology mindset, it requires an analytical mindset.
Correct.
And more of an experimenter.
Correct.
There are enough tools available to make you super fast.
Absolutely right.
So this is great, So let's move to the last section. We will take 2 recommendations from you, and this is the section I really love. I don't read books, Anand. So what I do is I ask people what books they love. Then I go and do ChatGPT and I say, अच्छा इसका book summary दे दो. Then I go and watch a summary video. Then I say, अच्छा, is it worth spending time? So rather than I said कि लोगों से पूछ लेते हैं what books are they passionate about. And this is my question first to you is, what books are you passionate about, or you would really recommend कि यार ये तो पढ़ना ही है सौरभ तुम्हें?
Yeah, so I've, like book reading came a lot late to me in my life. Like, for the last few years, I've been like voracious reader. Every night about before I sleep, like, about 45 minutes I read.
Acha.
Yeah, that's a non-negotiable, couldn't read anything in the school that much, like including textbooks. But what I read during those days, what I was really like deep into, and I would like go to the flea market and buy these kind of books, were biographies, right?
Acha.
Because how did people do what they did, like, and how did someone become so successful, right? And I read in those days I read biographies of Sam Walton, right, of Walmart. It's called Made in America. How he built, like, in the middle of nowhere in Arkansas, like, how he created like this massive empire of retailing, right? Then the other one I would highly recommend is Akio Morita's biography called Made in Japan. How after the World War II, like, Japan got fully destroyed, and no one wanted to be associated with the Japanese manufacturing ecosystem, and they were considered low cost, inferior products, and then he took that flag of technology, miniaturization, right, and electronics, and how he kind of carved a path for Sony Corporation, right? Building Walkman was like the truly first moment where they could pack like the stereo into something, a very compact form factor, and people then demanded made in Japan products, like, so taking that like as a one generation was a big thing, right?
So Made in Japan was one book I read in 2003. I started at 9 p.m. in the night and kept reading till 3 a.m. I've never read books in one go, but that was one thing I could.
It's a phenomenal book, like, and again, like, it might be dated for today's date. I'm talking about, like, I read these books like 20 years ago, right? 20, even longer. But what is timeless is the ability for some entrepreneur to take on a mission and then actually chase it end to end, right? Like Walmart is like a massive retailer. They acquired Flipkart in India for, double-digit $1 billion. And that vision of providing affordable products to their customers all over the world, like, that they continue to drive that mission forward, right? So there are many such books, like, I've read Elon Musk's, I've read the 2 of these biographies. There are many more, like, but these continue to inspire me.
Is your
continue to inspire me because they show you the odds of, like, everything was impossible when someone started, and then how do you keep on chipping away? And these are life journeys, right? So it kind of, the arc is good because I'm reading successful biographies.
And that's what is inspiring you.
Absolutely.
And so one day, definitely looking forward to your biography coming in.
I hope so.
Yeah. The other piece which I generally love to know from people is what is one brand which they really love, which is not a popular brand, and they not stop talking about it.
To me, that brand I discovered like about 5 years ago is a brand called Peak Design. It's a San Francisco brand, and they make backpacks for photographers.
Achha.
Right? And then the tech bros, if I can call them that, like, repurpose that for technology. So, I mean, I have one of those backpacks, and they make fantastic products, extremely utilitarian, high quality, and they're guaranteed for life.
Okay,
right?
guarantee for life.
Guaranteed for life. And I experienced this actually. I was in their store and I was showing them something, like one of the zips was acting up, and I thought they will wax it or they will. They actually asked me to empty my bag. Said, can you pick one up from the from the rack? And I picked they said this version is out, like, it's version 1. We have version 2 now. I picked. They said, now put everything back into the new bag and you can walk away. You're done. So they gave me a new one. I recently bought their trolley bag. Which is when I was one of the early backers for that. Cost me $550 then. Now it's sold for $650. Again, guaranteed for life, and I've traveled with it for like now a few international trips. It's one of the best pieces of luggage I've ever owned. So expensive products, you might say, why not go for a better brand, recognition, something that's slightly more premium and all that. To me, it is not the logo, it is what the brand stands for. Right? Like, I'll tell you one other book that I read, biography of the founder of Patagonia, right? And it showed me the ethos of the brand. Like, why did they created that brand? Why was it why they still stick by it and all that, right? So peak design is exactly that, like, appeals to my values. You want products that last a lifetime. Retention is our theme. And that
How do you
brand,
convert an issue of a product into a fan?
yes, I've been going around town talking silly about the brand, like, like, hey, this is the brand
This
they
is the
should all
best
buy.
CAC they have.
Yes.
Yeah, so amazing. So there's this one book which I discovered and I would like to give it to you. This is called Building a Story Brand 2.0. It's a very interesting book. So I teach at ISB and so I was sitting in the library and I discovered I picked up the book from the shelf and does not talk much about brand. It talks about how the communication and copywriting is a problem which creates poor brand narratives. Like the example you said that if you use the word offer too much or free, it's a negative correlation and brands don't realize it.
Correct.
And they have done a very interesting job. They have put in QR codes in it and if you scan it, it will take you to their chatbot, which is an agentic chatbot. And it starts impersonating the author and it starts giving you recommendations.
Interesting.
So it's a very modern way of creating an omni-channel book experience, offline to online, and then keep going into it.
Awesome. Thank you for the gift, and I look forward to reading it.
Yeah, amazing. So thanks a lot, Anand. I really enjoyed our conversation. I don't know how long it went, but going from your journey of Burrp to building CleverTap, understanding the concepts of what does a CRM platform constitute about, and love the analogy of Gabbar. I will never forget it. Gabbar is the CDP and if it does not have hands, it will break. From there, moving into understanding the power of personalization, then impact of analytics, and then the AI universe. Definitely the careers will transform with it, and that's the fun. Thank you very much for your amazing time and love your office and our conversation. Looking forward to catching up in the next maybe an year or so and seeing where we have moved ahead in this whole AI and agentic world. And yeah, thank you very much.
Saurabh, thank you for having me. It was a pleasure talking to you. I really enjoyed talking about everything, starting from my own life story all the way to AI, and looking forward to viewing this.
Thank you very much.
All right.
So if you have loved today's episode, we bring this omni-channel conversations every fortnight with you, where we bring in different experts from the world of omni-channel and go deep into one topic. So subscribe our YouTube channel and get notified by pressing the bell icon whenever a new episode releases. Also, I would love to hear your feedback, comments, things which you agree, disagree and learned in the comments below, and we will make sure we reply to every single comment. Also, if you want to learn and get a playbook, subscribe to our newsletter and we will share detailed playbook of all the things which we are talking about in the discussion so far. So enjoy watching and keep sharing.